We good, Mary?
I have blood pressure.
Where's that?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Evening, everyone. This is the special city council meeting, Tuesday, August 19th. We'll do a roll call.
Scott Boris. Zach Bryan.
Here.
Andrew Cares.
Here.
Bob Clemens.
Here.
Laura Sauerman. Here. Joe Sanders.
Here.
And Chad Jeffries.
We're at 5:07, so there's a quorum. So the only thing on tonight's agenda is just the introduction of the proposed 2026 budget. So as we all know, there's a lot of unknowns. 2026 is relatively stable. Craft the budget, I look for that year, but also the subsequent years. So there's a lot of unknowns out there looming in 27 and 28 that could severely impact our budget as communities around the state. So we really took a pretty conservative approach and be cautious. That could certainly change, but we can't rely on that. So we're conservative on the budget that we put together. So in meeting with the department heads as we're crafting this, I did let them know that be prepared because 27, 28 could be pretty lean for their budget and our operations. So they know that going into it. The budget process is still the same. So what we do is us and the mayor's office and the clerk's treasurer's office, we meet with each department individually. They come prepared with their current year budget, the proposed changes they would like to see. A lot of them were, it's their department, so we'll let them have a pretty heavy input on their overall budget. There was a lot we met today that we weren't able to give them. Some we were able to, but we want to let them know ahead of time. Here's what we can give you in the proposed budget, here's what we could not. So they know that. And then what we do is once we recraft that budget, then we meet with FSG over the entire budget, mayor's office, clerks, and FSG. There's some changes in here that are at the request of FSG, just like always. So we'll go over those as well. So the process, how we crafted this budget and what's being proposed and we consider is the same. So the overall budget, proposed budget, 2026 is just over $53.2 million. Overall, it's a pretty modest increase of 2.25% from 2025. And within the general fund, there's a proposed 4.7 increase. This is by and large our employee salaries, health insurance, and so forth. Total of all the other funds outside the general fund is actually a less than 1% total increase that's proposed. One of the areas that we had to really put the brakes on, I don't like, but like I said, we got to be prepared for the unknowns, is we're not adding any new full-time employees in 2000. So let's see what comes forward after that. So if you may recall, really to the council's credit, started in 2023 going into 2024, and we picked it up again last year and this year. We really did planning and concentrated effort to try and bolster our employees' wages and salaries, whether they're salaried employees or increase the range for our non-salaried employees. And just through, really good being prepared. We didn't do everything in 1 year. Working with FSG, looking 1, 2, 3 years ahead, we were able to present to the council raises for all the city employees at different levels. To keep our commitment to working on the last 2 years and the 26 budget for the police, the fire, motor vehicle, and our utilities employees, folks in public works, 5% raises being proposed. our full-time employees and salaried employees outside of public works. A 3% raise is being proposed. The department heads, superintendents, and the chief of staff, a 2% raise is being proposed. And the mayor and elected officials are proposing no salary increases. Jumping into the general fund specifically under the mayor's office, just one requested change, an increase of promotion of city business from 15,000 to 20,000. This is just because of all the efforts that we've supported for a number of years. The events, the city representation of different tables and so forth, all those have increased. So the last couple of years we've run short on that. So hence the request for the extra $5,000 for the promotion of city business. Within the engineering, request of $250 added for a full-time employee for clothing allowance. This was an oversight in last year's budget. So we're asking to go from 2,400 to 2,650. Sticking with engineering, there's no increases here. This is just their request to flip money around. Increase in other capital outlays from 7,000 to 22,000, but decrease the GIS capital outlays from 15,000 to 1,000. Gives them more flexibility. They can still use it for that, but should there be a need in other areas, moving that money will give them a little bit more flexibility. Within the Board of Works, we actually were shorted $100. So increased clothing allowance from $3,350, just makes it so we don't run short of that account. Decrease in the communication supplies line item from 2,500 to 1,000. These two came at the department request to move tree removal and replacement supplies of $2,000 to the motor vehicle, and move tree removal and replacement advertising, which was only $500 to the same fund. Probably the biggest change or addition to the Board of Works budget, or within the Board of Works, is the added advertising for communication, 50,000. So it's the same amount, and it's always run through the RDC. So remember, Mary's come to presentations and before the RDC and so forth. It's FSG's recommendation based on what the state would like to see is to pull that and have that no longer go through the RDC and move it to the Board of Works, into the general fund. This comes up to FSG recommendation. So the amount is the exact same. We're just pulling it from the RDC and putting it through the Board of Works. Sticking with the Board of Works, increased repairs and maintenance for our street lights from $6,000 to $20,000. Decrease light repairs from $9,000 to $1. Move tree removal and replacement service of $15,000 to the motor vehicle, and move machinery, equipment, tree removal outlays of $5,000 to motor vehicle. This is again after meeting with Terry and Kay. Came at their request. I know the judge is here. Judge, feel free to weigh in, but his proposed and requested changes are pretty minimal. Increased part-time overtime from 3,000 to 4,000. Travel and school from 2,000 to 3,000. Increased postage from 2,000 to 3,000. Increased promotion of city business from 1,000 to 2,000. Judge, would you like to add anything or?
That's really all we're looking at. The mayor's working on, we got the roof at the Civic Center issue. That's a separate issue, I understand.
Yep.
But other than making sure the roof's good, $3,000 or $4,000 is all we really need to keep going.
Okay. Moving on to the planning department, just two increased postage from 800 to 2,000. That's the postage. And increased subs and dues from 1,500 to 5,240. This is because the contract that we have with Indiana Landmarks is going up, so this will help us cover the increased cost of their contract. Police department, what the city contributes to not only police but fire, the pension, that's set by the state. We have no say in it whatsoever. The contribution went from, or is going to from 20.3% to 23.3%. Probably their really only change is they're gonna ask, they wanna change their chain of command structure within the police department, so they have sergeants and corporals and patrolmen. The chief and his team are looking to add a lieutenant's position, which would be a promoted rank. If that's approved, then what they'll do is then they'll reduce the number of corporals and so forth. So there'll be a slight increase of $38,000 to get this new chain of command structure underway. But as the corporal ranks become available, they're not going to refill them. They feel they don't need the corporal ranks as they do as the lieutenant. So they know as the workshops continue to be prepared to answer any council questions on the chain of command structure. The only other request they had is to increase their travel in school from 14,000 to 20,000. The fire department, chief is asking to increase repair and maintenance supplies from 22,500 to 27,500. Increase postage from 1,500 to 2,500. And decrease machinery and equipment repairs from 10,000 to 5,000. Moving on to cemetery, Tom is asking if we could remove the weed control and put that $4,000 into add two other services and charges. Again, it's the same amount of money. Moving this just gives them a little bit more flexibility on the use of the money. More vehicle changes, just as we went through the Board of Works proposed budget, we pulled some. This is where the money would be going to kind of more vehicle. They added tree removal and supplies, added tree removal replacement services, and added machine and outlays. So it's the same numbers, just moving them in the motor vehicle from the Board of Works. Police department, yeah, it's requested we move the I know they have CDL certificate certification of the 12.8 is remove that. I think or create an added certification bonus of relative to the same amount, 12,800. So what he's trying to do is similar to all the other departments. They have certification incentives. If you obtain this certification, you can be rewarded with a certification stipend. That helps keep employees motivated to receive those certifications, which obviously benefits the department, but for the city as a whole. Under the RDC, we're close with FSG and Greg on this. FSG is proposing for just rename the fund this due to state water accounts regulation. I-65 TIF area, that was the original one. So they're going to ask when he's here to change that account within RDC. Greg's proposing increase SRF leverage program debt from the almost 1.6 to 3 million in 2026. One of the, there's a lot of restrictions what can be paid of RDC. It pretty much has to benefit that TIF district, or one of the TIF districts. One of the exceptions is the police and fire. So to help ease the general fund, but still trying to get them some of the funds that they need. We're proposing, recommending adding new subs and dues for the police department of $215,000. This is a lofty number, but if you remember, they implemented the body cam program, about $600,000. And the Alexa Pool program, which is an in-house thing, both desperately needed, but it comes with a high subscription and due.
So what is that? Subscriptions and dues?
Yeah, so it'll be subs and dues. So they have a subs and dues within their budget. It's not nearly this much. So instead of adding to the general fund, FSG recommended let's take that increase and put it in the RDC and use TIF dollars.
So it's kind of like a lease for police equipment.
Yeah, like for example, the body cams, the cameras themselves are relatively inexpensive. It's all the funds needed for everything to sustain the camera. So that was FSG's recommendation. Added again, set aside $500,000 for road resurfacing and improvements in case that's needed. It will be. we got your email. You saw the numbers, yes.
Thank you.
So we asked FSG to work that into the RDC. I know it's not on here, but currently in 2025, we have $100,000 set aside for the police department for vehicle purchases. And we're asking that just remain in place again in 2026 at the same amount for $100,000. The fire department, we're asking that under the RDC, $285,000 be appropriated for the chief. He has some planned vehicle purchases. Again, rather than try and put this on the general fund, FSG, we thought let's not put it on the general fund and use RDC dollars for fire departments vehicle purchases. And FSG's asking to decrease the other capital outlays up to $3.1 million to $250,000. FSG recommendation and request. Pretty much covers the RDC.
And is the difference between the 3.1 million and 250 or not doing the math fast enough? Is that
Because he's
the fire
adding,
and police?
if you do the increase, just a few of those up above that, increase the SRF leverage program debt.
Yeah.
He bumped that up to almost 1.5 million, increased to 3 million. So he's pulling.
The cap.
So,
Yeah.
so the decrease in capital outlays is 2.8 negative, and then everything else above it is 2.4. So it's the increase is
Yeah.
less than the.
Yeah. The public safety ambulance revenue and operation. For the fire department, increased vehicle and equipment services from 0 to 75,000. This is for equipment the chief and the fire department were able to purchase the council's approval of the bond money that would make it necessary purchases. And to remove the lease for the cardiac monitor from $40,000 to $0. Try to do another with the court record perpetuation fund. Decrease office supplies from 2,500 to 1,000. Increase computer miscellaneous from 2,500 to 5,000. Judge, anything you want to share just on those two? The CETA funds came from FSG recommendation to no longer money was set aside within the redevelopment for attorney fees. FSG's recommending that 200,000 and allocate it. But this is based on FSG's and what the state would have a preference, so we're following FSG request for recommendation from the RDC. It's not being increased, it's just moving how the monies are paid from. Lloyd increased fire Lloyd supplies from 25,000 to 30. This is for their buy the fuel. 0.65 TIF. This is a FSG recommendation. Put in here added debt service for $500,000. The garbage and recycling fund, we're in for our contract with Republic. They increase the fund from 3.3 to 3.4. Again, this is just based on the current contract, what's stipulated in the contract. So we have enough money to pay them for their service.
Do they come in like a garbage contract for the city? Wherever any extra charges, is it always straight on the contract?
Well, so it'll change like from it's a 6 or 7 year contract in 2026 to last year contract. So it's already built in every year, year 1, year 2, year 3. So this will reflect what plan increases are already in the contract. So
But I mean, do we ever see that, like if we allocate and we say for 26, it's gonna be 3.4.
yeah, the only thing
Is there any like
Oh, yeah.
surprises, like you guys had, or more of this or that, like a rebuild or something?
Yeah, I think the only one that provides any variables is related to the recycling. So you've seen, and not that I'm not even saying but part of the discussion is the whole recycling. that's the only really available.
Well, we've never seen,
variable.
we haven't seen that before in the past. where,
No, we
Should
send
have been
them,
this, and they're coming in 50 grand high because of certain charges that they have to apply.
Yeah.
we send them every month a list of how many customers we have. And then according to the contract, they take the contract amount per person or per residence and times it by how many residents that we're charging for track. And that's, then they in turn bill us for that.
Yeah, so what we collect money in and then money right out.
So it's on the contract, that's what goes.
Mayor, I've worked on every contract we've had since 2008 with Dave. And, yeah, we got some things in there, but ours is a little sophisticated on what we get out of that these documents that
Yes.
brings in here. And we got some things in there with some agreements on that, and I think we're gonna be looking at that this next, I talked to Jim, we're gonna run all that with you.
Yeah, so we'll have to jump into that 2000.
Yes.
And then the last one, again, this is a FSG request and recommendation under the 2023 Delaware TIP expansion area to add into other service charges $10,000 for the FSG request. I know my list of changes is usually much longer, but like I said, it was pretty. See, a lot of them are just moving money around. The departments with a little more flexibility. We're trying to keep it very conservative. 0.25 increase on our budget. But like I said, it keeps our commitment to the employees about the raise plan, working on employees and moving forward. That's the proposed 2026 budget.
With the, I guess, like the seeded fund, did you say that it was removed from redevelopment and is now in seeded?
No, so the certain attorney fees and legal expenses are paid out of RDC, 200,000.
Okay.
FSG is making a recommendation, we, just similar to what communications is, pull that from the RDC and just pay that, put that into, not the actual money, but those funds from the seed as opposed to the RDC.
Right, so it's paid out of seeded instead of RDC.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
And that's in addition to the legal department?
Yeah, so the legal department within the general fund, they have a budget, some of all their departments. And then there's, so if they do something represent our legal work with, certainly within a TIP district issue, but let's say they just attend meetings or something that doesn't really fall under the TIP, we don't want to follow the state rules line, so we want to have another fund that will pull that from that's outside of ours. So hence the request to do that on C.
One of my concerns with seeing all the, I guess, new proposed values in redevelopment, but when you factor in like the pretty large decrease in other capital outlays, it ends up looking like a decrease overall, so. You guys all have the questions too, so thank you very much for
Yes,
answering
sure.
everything as possible. Yeah, I appreciate it.
And I apologize for leaving those pace lines in there that
Oh, no,
made it a little bit more confusing.
Yeah, that's no worries.
So just following right now the proposed budget calendar, obviously we have tonight, for September 2nd. Council is okay, first reading of the budget, salary ordinances, obviously more changes can be made subsequent to that, but right now that would be some timeline of where Sherry was going to prepare the balance opioid accounts. So in the fire department and police department have certain ideas of the planned uses of that. We want to kind of let it build up a little bit, which it has. So maybe part of the budget process, the FD and the PD can maybe review some of the ideas that they have for the use of those part of the process.
Well, it looks like to this point, most of it's been in training,
Yeah.
which is all appropriate. But I'd love to know what some of the ideas are. With, looks like 138. Over $150,000 now.
That's fine, yeah.
Well, reading through some of these changes for the police department, increased travel and school. I should have asked what you're doing. What is that, training for the police?
Yeah. So,
That's a 40%.
just the cost of it. In fact, I'm okay having them increase the amount of training. That's a good thing. It's just some of the schools that they go to, you send 2 or 3 officers. 400 or 500 per officer. So right there's $1,500. So chief does a good job of managing it, but and fire department too, they do a great job getting their employees adequate.
Yeah, no, I'm
right kind of strength.
Always for it. Peace. This list has like 265,000 in increases. And the big one is the,
That was last year, that was a mistake on us, you guys approved that for 23 or 24.
That was in the emails from earlier, that's Sherry, I've already read.
Yeah, so
So they only go with the only,
so these items, yeah. They're all, for the only case item is the certification bonus.
yeah.
That's an updated
That's why you
one,
didn't
that I
read
did email you
That's why you
guys,
didn't go down the
Yeah,
line.
apologize.
that's
That's-
updated.
It's all right.
so yeah.
Oh, it
Adam
was
just
only the first 2 lines of
the
piece.
deletion of the CDL certification, but adding certification. For about-
Okay,
Adam actually lost stars in his eyes.
so would you say that was a year
Maybe
ago
about-
that we did those?
Yeah, we
things?
did that because I used to, prior to come back every fall for additional appropriation. The money was coming in as anticipated, and then we kind of let it come in, so instead of coming back to, we just budgeted for that.
Very
That
good.
was the increase.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so initially it's $800 less.
Yeah, that's just, the majority of my employees don't have a benefit from the CDL. So having them educated and certified in different areas, IT and parks and rec, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
More beneficial for us.
All right, now I got a big question. I'm a simple-minded guy. I like black and white. But, and I was speaking with Sherry before the meeting, but can I ever get would we ever get a comprehensive summary of the city's budget, revenues brought in, and expenditures? Because I mean, this tells me what 26's budget is going to be with a 2% increase, but I have constituents that say, you know, doing okay? Are we flush? Are we red? You know, I mean, I'd like to just see for 2024, they do it in arrears, you know, or year-to-date 2025. City brought in this kind of revenue. Here's our expenditures. Here's the difference. I mean, I need to simplify.
Well, we can give,
We can see what we can,
Yeah.
what kind of trial balance or,
We do send in the utilities out here.
right,
Yeah, you got the utilities. I mean, like
So you
the
want-
big broad picture. You know?
Yeah.
'Cause, I mean, I'm used to every month. Where I work, we have and of course it's different. It's not government, it's private business, but we have our units sold. Here's our revenue for the month. Here's our expenditures. Boom, there's the bottom line.
Excellent.
Here we are year to date for July and August. And
You should get the budget performance reports monthly too.
get those,
So
yeah.
you want the revenue ones also.
I would like to see, yeah, just the simple math. that just,
Absolutely.
Here's what we're bringing in and here's what we're spending.
yeah, and
Yep.
I mean, and that's a good point, but you can definitely tell those constituents, the cities in very sound financial state. They said here tonight, great financial advisors, they know our budget and our investments inside and out. These guys affect revenues from certain of our investments, help we put, actually use in the budget. So increase and lessen the amount of general fund, we'll take proceeds from the investments we have.
I'll get on it.
Yeah, so, I never compare,
Because when I was looking at some of this, like tonight, I was trying to crash course and I felt like I was back in calculus and I never understood.
And if
No.
any of you ever wanna come in, I mean, stop in and we can go over anything that you want, if you have ever had
Yeah, I'm
any
not trying to put
questions.
more work on you. I think
No.
the numbers should be there.
Yeah, it should be a bit different. Yeah, tomorrow we can run a couple reports, send them off and see if it's what you're
I
looking
appreciate
for, and
that.
then
All right.
send them off to everybody.
Another really nice report that we got in other years was kind of what had been budgeted in 25, but what was actually given back to the general fund or like wasn't spent. Of the 10,000 that was budgeted, did we only spend 8250 instead of, or did we spend 14? You know, usually we know the extra because there's added, additional appropriations that departments come. But I know in the past, it used to be like, well, the council gave back 100% of its postage budget because we didn't spend any money on postage or something like that. I always appreciated seeing that, to see where
Is
maybe
there a
some.
simplified report that?
I was gonna say, we could probably do something for like the entire general funds, what the, we might be able to break it down.
We
Yeah,
used to get it all broken down, because I know postage was one of the categories, it was a
Right.
line item.
yeah, we'll see, because we should be able to print actual budget versus actual expenditures.
That may be helpful too. Thank you.
I got that's an unrelated question. Just generally speaking, is this budget that's being proposed, is this reasonable within the, I guess, the realm of outcomes with what is looming with SB1?
Yeah.
What's out there?
I mean, certainly there was, you can imagine, a lot of discussions, not only internally with the departments, but once we got to FSG. So he kind of gave us, there's still a lot of moving parts and unknowns, but he kind of gave us, as things stand now, here's the impact that Crown Point's going to see in their 27, 28 budgets. So there was a lot of discussion of that. Obviously, anything being proposed, and actually what's being proposed is a lesser amount in total than what we left FSG, because we made some further reductions in what we're proposing to the council. So nothing, it doesn't reach this stage unless FSG's working with it. So,
Yeah, I know we
and
can
they left
predict the
they
future, so just
You're
don't
right.
want to have to reinvent this or get
Yeah.
late in the day or late in the budget cycle, and all of a sudden the situation changes materially, and we're kind of scrambling with.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest one is we wanted to add some full-time employees for some of the different departments. I hated taking that out, but just
Yeah,
with the unknowns,
Yeah.
that's not really, we couldn't really do it.
Well, you don't want to hire people and have to let them go in a year.
That's,
I mean,
that was part of the debate, yeah, exactly. So, I mean, who knows what will actually come about, but we got a plan now, like there's gonna be no changes that we can't control.
part of what has made Crown Point financially successful compared to some of our neighboring areas has been, we've been a little more conservative and planned it better. And I really applaud those who work on the budget at the nitty-gritty level for that. In all the years I've been on the council, it's always been very conservatively done, and that sets us up for leaner years.
And credit to the department heads and their management team, because they are given whatever their budgets are, and they always meet it, and almost all of them turn money back into the general. Take it and feel free to, changes or recommendations, and of course, we're always here throughout the meeting. Anthony certainly shares the questions or clarifications or whatever. We'll be happy to give. But overall, it's a pretty lean budget from 2.25%.
We're saving money on AC.
Very well.
So right, Sherry, so right now, as it stands today, first reading will be September 2nd.
Correct.
Time.
And I know Greg and Charlie were like, that's why I sent the email, I know you all know, but second public hearing and that final, it is imperative that all of you are here to your best. It can't be via Zoom.
What it can't be, you said?
Cannot vote via Zoom on budget. And if we don't do it, if we don't vote on our budget by October 31st, it reverts back to this year's budget. So,
And he told us some horror stories from communities around the state that that's happened to, and it's not good.
Honestly, a core.
You just have-
yes, you have to have one.
I just want to say one thing there.
Yes.
I'm paid to sit in this seat, and better be, I would be here. We should be here for this thing, because talking to those holes in the wall, don't get it sometimes.
Yeah, and the council, they know what's, you guys know. There's no new council members up here, so. That's the timeline and.
Just still have that.
Jump
Oh,
So like, you can still play the new card if not.
New-ish, yeah.
Newish.
So unless there's more, we can move on. Anybody have anything under miscellaneous? Motion to adjourn.
Second.
What was that?
Give it to Bob, maybe, or a second. Other than that,
All right.